Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. Now, in this video, what I'm going to try and do is distill everything that I've learned over reading a lot of books over the last few years into one awesome YouTube video. But if it's your first time here on the channel, just a little bit about me and what I'm hoping to do on this channel. Now, I'm just a guy who earns minimum wage and I'm hoping to retire a millionaire. So if that's something that interests you, hit that subscribe button, smash that like button as well, and let's get into it. Okay guys, so the first thing that I want to talk to you about is breaking that cycle. Now, a little bit about me. Now, by the time I was 18, I was evicted from 3 homes. Now, that isn't because my mum and my stepdad didn't work hard. They did. They worked like dogs from sun up till sundown, but they had no concept of investing. They thought that money earned was to be money spent, and that is how a lot of people think. And for a long time, that's what I thought as well, until I realised I had to break this cycle. Now, everyone in my family either went to school, for the most part, if they were lucky, and then after that were either in the warehouse or enlisted in the military, and that was it. So it's difficult to break that cycle when you're talking about investing and trying to accumulate wealth. It's a really difficult transition, but something that I'm hoping to do, fingers crossed. But it's that first step that is often the hardest. Now, I've been accumulating knowledge on investing and money, but I haven't taken that first step until really recently. And it was just that fear of something new, something that I'm not used to, and I didn't know what was going to happen. But if you're not investing your money, it's losing value. So recently I invested my first £1,000, and I'll link that video at the end if you want to check it out to see what I was doing. But the first lesson that I want to talk to you guys about is just taking that first step, because it's often the hardest one. Lesson number 2 is something that I think everybody preaches, and that is listen to a man called Warren Buffett. Now, when he was asked what the best advice is when getting involved in the stock market, this is what he said.
And that is to consistently buy an S&P 500 low-cost index fund. Keep buying it through thick and thin, and especially through thin.
That's one of the richest men on earth. I think his current net worth is over 100 billion. That's billion with a B. So that guy knows what he's talking about. But the thing is, most of that wealth was accumulated over time, and the effects of compound interest have really kicked in. But if he's saying invest in that, in the S&P 500, probably can't go far wrong. Now, if there is one thing I wish I could do, it's just step into a time machine, go back to 1960, sit my granddad down and tell him, please, 20% of your wages every month just go into the S&P 500 every single month, and then leave everything to me. Alright, the rest of the family get a slice of the pie too. Now, number 3, there are 3 things that you can do with your money. You can spend it, you can save it, and you can invest it. Now, when you spend it, obviously that money's gone. But what I thought for a long time before I started reading all of these books was if I saved it, that was going to be the best option. But because of something called inflation, when you save your money and you just stick it in your bank account, it actually starts to lose value because of something called inflation. Now, the easiest way that I can explain inflation to you is through Chris. Now, growing up when I was a kid in the 1990s, I could go to the sweet shop with £1 and come back with a week's worth of food. Not really, but maybe like 4 packets of crisps. Now, if you send someone in there, they're lucky to get 1 packet of crisps, and most of the time they're coming back with that £1 because they couldn't spend it on anything. That's inflation. Now I'm going to go off on a bit of a Chris rant here. Now just to illustrate my point, a while ago you could fit hula hoops on your fingers. And that was a really fun way to eat them. But recently you can't do that anymore. Now I realise that this is a bit of a Chris rant and I'm going off on a tangent, but inflation. Things are getting more expensive and they're becoming smaller and smaller. So if your money sits in your bank account, it's gonna lose its value. Crisps are getting more expensive. Inflation. Number 4, nobody has the silver bullet. There's not one A to B route that you can take that's going to be the same as me. So my journey to financial freedom is probably going to be a little bit different to yours. Just like Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos, they took slightly different routes. And then the man that we mentioned earlier in the video, Warren Buffett, he took a slightly different route as well. And people like Bernie Madoff took a different route altogether. Now I've just watched that documentary on Netflix. It's amazing. You know what I'm talking about. It's insane. Go and check it out. But we'll not talk about Madoff. But there's a load of different ways that you can earn your money and take them steps towards financial freedom. So there isn't a silver bullet. No one's going to be able to sit down and tell you, give me a £5 and in 10 years I'll give you £1 million. I wish that was the case, but it's not the case. Unless you're playing the lottery and you get really, really lucky, that's just not going to be the case. It's going to be different for everybody, but more often than not, it's going to result in time in the stock market. Being patient is key, and just accumulating that wealth. And that brings me on to point number 5. Now, if you've been investing for a while, you'll know this, but patience is going to be key, like we spoke about earlier. If you can save some of your money and invest it every single month, eventually that is going to start to snowball and earn you more and more and more. And then when you can take them earnings and reinvest it into your portfolio, that's when the snowball's really going to start barreling and motoring you towards financial freedom and, fingers crossed, early retirement. Just like I am hoping to do here on this channel, going from minimum wage to retiring a millionaire. Now, probably the most important thing I learned from reading all of those books was spend less than you make and invest the rest. I'm Steve, this is the Extra Income Boss. If you want to see what I did when I took my first steps into the stock market to try and retire a millionaire, click that video right there. But apart from that, I'm Steve, this is the Extra Income Boss. I'll see you again in that one.